so much. Thank you. How about a nice round of applause for all that proceeded this evening, the auctioneer, but also for all of you who bid on those items. How about a nice round of applause for all of you? Thank you so much. Before I do anything, I want to make mention, we had so many celebrities here. We got such a great program of people in the industry, so I'm just going to go through this real fast and tell you that Bob Avellini, Kevin Butler, Desmond Clark, Steve Cochran, Dennis DeYoung, John Ebersol, Brian Glasgow, John Hajay, Randy Huntley, Jack Marin, Gary Mulder, Bob Patterson, Mike Richardson, Gorman Thomas, Jim Thornton, Billy Joe Tolliver, Dave Fogel, Donnell Wolford, Tim Tyrell, Larry Wirt, I think, is here, and of course, Richard Dent, Troy Murray, and Jeff Blanzy. Would you all stand, the celebrities? Would you give them a nice round of applause? All those names I just mentioned. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Normally I give the celebrities a much more formal introduction about all the things that they have accomplished and all the things that they've achieved in their lifetime in sports and in the entertainment world. And they richly deserve those kind of introductions. However, that being said, tonight we're honoring the reason that you were given the opportunity to play in the sport that you love, to make the money that you made, to help feed your families because of sacrifices that came before you, of men and women who stepped up and defended their country so that we might have the freedoms that we have today. You can argue with me all you want, and people do, about different wars and different excursions that our nation has been in. But there's one war I will never let you argue with me, and that's World War II. If we lost that war, there's no doubt what Adolf Hitler and Tojo had in mind for this country. There would be no Wrigley Field. There would be no New York Yankees. There would be no Bolingbrook Golf Club. None of that would be here if it wasn't for those men and women who showed up and sacrificed when the time came. It simply would not be done, and in all branches of the service. But for this particular few moments, we're going to honor some very, very special and important people. What I'd like you to first do is, I'm going to take this over here. There was an organization in World War II, there was a squadron that most of you never heard about. They were told they couldn't fly. I'll explain that to you, and I'd like to introduce you to one of them. If you direct your attention to the stage here, you're just going to see some things that I will narrate some of it here. So far, so good, huh? That's Tuskegee Airmen. Our objective is to inform you the hardships and the experiences of the Tuskegee Airmen had to overcome for the duration of World War II. The work of civil rights organizations helped form an African-American squadron known as the Tuskegee Airmen. The men, they were dedicated and determined young African-Americans, became the first black military airmen. They lived in cities all over the country. Large numbers came from these cities: New York City, Washington, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit. There were many setbacks. Many thought black men lacked intelligence, skill, courage, patriotism, qualifications for combat duty. They were constantly denied military leadership roles and skilled training. They were banned from flying for the U.S. military. To train African Americans, the Army Air Corps created a program teaching them how to fly, how to maintain combat aircraft. The program was made up of pilots, navigators, bombardiers, maintenance, support staff, instructors, personnel who kept the planes in the air. The Tuskegee Institute was selected by the military to train the African American pilots. It is located in Montgomery, Alabama. Was known for its commitment to aeronautical training, the facilities, engineering, technical instructors, a climate for year-round flying. Over time, the program expanded and became the center for African American aviation for the duration of World War II. The first aviation cadet class began in July 1941. 9 months later, 5 men successfully completed the training. They received Army Air Corps Silver Pilot Wings. The black airmen became single-engine pilots, multi-engine pilots, navigators, bombardiers, gunnery crews, and mechanics. In 1942 to 1946, 994 pilots graduated at TAAF, receiving commissions and pilot wings. 450 of the pilots served overseas in the 99th Pursuit Squadron, 332nd Fighter Group, 477th Composite Group, 100th Fighter Squadron, and the 302nd Fighter Squadron. They fought in the 99th Fighter Squadron combat in North Africa, trained in and flew P-40 Warhawk aircraft, combat in Sicily and Italy in April 1943. Over 15,000 combat sorties, 111 German airplanes destroyed in the air, 150 German aircraft destroyed on the ground, 950 rail cars, trucks, and other motor vehicles destroyed, 1 destroyer sunk by a P-47 machine gun fire, and 66 pilots were killed in action or accidents. Their combat record continues with 32 pilots downed and captured POWs. No bombers were ever lost to an enemy aircraft while being escorted. 150 Distinguished Flying Crosses earned, 744 Air Medals, 8 Purple Heart Stars, and 14 Bronze Star medals. These were the Tuskegee Airmen, ladies and gentlemen. They became one of the most highly respected fighter groups in World War II. They proved to others they could fly and maintain sophisticated combat aircraft. Their accomplishments became the catalyst for full integration of African Americans in the United States military. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you a little story. When I came out of the service, I went to work in Harvey, Illinois, my hometown, at the bus company, cleaning buses. Cleaning those buses, while I was cleaning those buses, I met a man who was a mechanic. He worked on the buses. He was a Tuskegee Airman, and when he came out of the service, he wanted to fly. He'd like to fly for commercial airlines, but they didn't hire men of his skin color. So he wanted to be a mechanic at the airport, maybe, and they didn't hire men of his skin color as a mechanic. The closest he could get to O'Hare Airport was working on buses in Harvey, Illinois. I met him. I never, ever, ever heard him complain. Never once. He served his country, great patriot. He never complained. He accepted what was handed to him, and he moved forward. He left the bus company and went on to WBE Radio as a program manager, and from there went to NBC, downtown WMAQ, as a program manager there. My dear friend of over 50 years, the 954 Tuskegee Airmen couldn't be here tonight, but one of them is. Would you say hello to Lieutenant Lawton Wilkerson, please? Thank you very much. In the room, of course, are so many who served in World War II. And what I'd like, before I introduce them, and we can't have, I'll introduce him in a row, but what I'd like for you to do is look, there was a man, that his name is Sam Bierstock. He was a doctor down in Florida, and he worked in a hospital there, but he also had a little band that he would go out on weekends. He was leaving the hospital in his convertible, and he came to a stop sign, and there was an old man picking up rags and bottles. And he had the top down, and he said, "How you doing today?" And waiting for the light to change, and the old guy says, "How am I doing? I took 2 bullets in my body in World War II for my country, and I'm picking up rags and bottles. That's how I'm doing." And he said, "Oh." And he drove away, and he stopped his car about 2 blocks, and he came back. And he put his arm around the guy, and he said, "Thank you for your service." And he said, "I really appreciate what you did." And he went home, and he wrote this, and this has over 45 million hits on the internet. If you turn your screens, this is a tribute to all you World War II veterans. This is for you. He wrote this with a friend of his. This is called Before You Go. gentlemen, you met Lachlan Wilkerson. Also in the audience is Tech 3 from the Army, Bob Schellenberger, Corporal in the Army, Ray Pearson, second class in the Coast Guard, Robert Fraley, Corporal in the Army, Gus Dallas, second class in the Navy, Leonard Prescott, Gunnerman, third class in the Seabees, Donald Hurd, Radio third class from the United States Navy, John Shubik, a corporal in the WAC Air Force, Angela Shubik, sergeant in the Army, Willie Novelli, third class Army Sergeant Bernie Chesner, seaman first class United States Navy, John Jaros, lieutenant in the Army Air Force, Zygmunt Burnett, aviation machinist mate first class United States Navy, Clarence Bark, second class signalman Navy, Richard Williams, staff sergeant in the Army Air Force, Paul Linden, staff sergeant in the Air Force, Ed Malaysiak, research lab technician Army, Art Johnson, and also Navigator pilot, Lieutenant Commander Don Thompson in the United States Navy, chaplain's assistant in the United States Army, Girth Elmer, Air Force clerk, non-typist John Detzler, Special Forces Army, Angelo D. Liberty, machinist mate second class, United States Navy, Herschel Luckenbill, staff sergeant Army, Les Bretman, also I'm going to introduce this gentleman later, Navy Corpsman Mike Eckberg, as well, Sergeant Air Force John Sladek, Major Air Force Jack Hadley, Navy First Class Charlie Becker, Army Buck Sergeant Joe Fleck, Air Force First Lieutenant Charlie Mueller, United States Seaview Water Tender Johnny Ray, Sergeant Major Retired Marines Earl Westwick, and Seaman First Class Tech Sergeant Navy Air Force William Simonton. Would you all stand? These are the men you just Gentlemen, our people stay seated until they all stand so we can see them. I would like, if you gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen, if you can come up here, we'd like to take one group picture of you, if you all can just make it right up to the front of the stage here, if you can. If you think you can make it up here, some of you can, some of you can't, but if you can, we'd like to take a picture of you, World War II veterans, around here tonight, if you can come up here. In fact, come up here on the stage here, if you can.
Get it up, buddy. Come on. Gotta make it. You've done this before.
Done it before, you want to do it again?
Well, after what?
Yeah. You want her to help her? Or you want her to help you, or you want me to help you? Do the math. You know, what age are the rules? I'm not going to break any of it. I'll tell you what. Tell me, my brother, you're getting photos of this. Mark, that was a clue in there.
pictures are shown, guys. How about this girl? How about it? Sure, this lady would like to say something. Go ahead. You can say something.
I'm so honored. I'm 86 years old. I'll tell you, we must pray for each and every one of everyone, not here, but the United States of the world. Love, don't hate, and then my Joe with a red jacket. Please, please.
One more time for these men and women.
I'm Herschel Luckenbill. I've been working with Honor Flight Chicago since 2008, its inception in Chicago. I've seen most of these gentlemen on flights. I got to be a guardian 25 times. We have flown 42 flights now. We've taken over 4,000 veterans from the Chicagoland area. My dad passed away in 1988, but you gentlemen are all my dad. I love you all. Honor Flight Chicago is fantastic. Thank you.
You know, Honor Flight flies them into Washington, D.C. to the memorial and then flies them back on the same day. Gentlemen, thank you. You can return to your seats, but thank you so much for all you did for our country. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Sit back down. You mean all that time you haven't taken one picture? Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on. We have a gentleman from Tuskegee Photographers. Go ahead. Look at this. Nice smiles.
One thing I didn't say, and that is, gentlemen, we thank you for our freedom, and we love every one of you.
Have you got it, guys?
I'm an advocate for the veterans, and I have to remember one thing. There are a lot of men that have wearing crosses today overseas. I was in the Battle of the Bulge, and I know what it's like to be an infantryman. And you have to remember one thing. You must honor the dead by helping the living. There are so many people here that need the help. Give them the help. Honor the dead, help the living. Thank you.
There's so many here, so let's give them a nice round of applause. Take your time, gentlemen, getting off the stage. We got time. We'll get you back to your seats and we'll continue the program. Take your time. You okay?